Jack opened his eyes slowly, the sunlight piercing through the thin cracks of what remained of his ship. The metal frame around him was twisted and scorched, half buried in the endless orange sand. Pain shot through his ribs as he tried to sit up, and for a moment he simply lay there, listening to the wind whistle across the barren landscape. No water, no food, no hope. His supplies had been destroyed in the crash, and he had no idea where he was. He stumbled out of the wreckage, dragging one foot after another, leaving a trail in the soft sand. The desert stretched endlessly in all directions, a harsh expanse of orange dunes that seemed to rise and fall like waves in a frozen ocean. Heat radiated from the sand, and the sun burned his skin through the thin fabric of his shirt. He felt dizzy, thirsty, hungry, and utterly alone. The planet was merciless. Survival was a question he didn't yet have the answer to. Hours passed, or maybe it was days. Time lost all meaning. Jack's throat was raw from the dryness, his lips cracked, and his steps grew slower. He sank to his knees more than once, thinking this might be the end. But there was something stubborn inside him that refused to let him give up. He forced himself to keep moving, dragging his injured body over the shifting sand. At one point he saw movement in the distance, shadows flickering across the dunes. For a moment hope sparked inside him. Perhaps there were others, perhaps someone could help him. But as he drew closer, he realized the shadows belonged to strange creatures unlike anything he had ever seen. They had long angular limbs, skin the color of dark copper, and eyes that glowed faintly under the sun. Jack froze, unsure if they were predators or intelligent beings. He watched them disappear into the heat haze, leaving only silence and the endless desert behind. He pressed onward, knowing he had no choice but to survive no matter what it took. By evening, exhaustion and hunger had driven him to collapse in a shallow canyon. The rocks offered some shade, and he let himself lie there shivering as the cold desert night replaced the burning day. He thought about his family back on Earth, about the people who would never know what happened to him. A bitter taste of despair filled his mouth, but he refused to give in. Somewhere he knew survival required more than just hope. It required finding life where it seemed impossible. It was then that he noticed a faint trail in the sand. Footprints, small and careful, leading deeper into the canyon. His curiosity sparked against his better judgment, and he followed them, each step weakening his body further. The canyon walls closed around him, tall and jagged, hiding the sky and muffling the wind. The footprints led to a small alcove where a dim glow flickered. Jack approached cautiously, heart pounding, and found a small settlement hidden in the canyon. It was unlike anything he had imagined. Structures carved into the rock, decorated with symbols that pulsed faintly in the dim light. Smoke rose from a small fire, and the scent of something warm and nourishing reached his nose. For the first time since the crash, he felt a spark of hope. A figure emerged from the shadows. A woman, tall and strong, her hair dark and flowing, her skin a shade of copper that gleamed in the firelight. She wore garments made from the desert's natural fibers, practical yet elegant, and her eyes held a sharp intelligence that made Jack hesitate. He had never seen anyone like her. "Who are you?" she asked in a voice both firm and curious.
"Why are you here?"
Jack coughed, his voice barely a whisper. "I crashed my ship. I have no food, no water, and I don't know how to survive here." The woman studied him carefully. Her eyes softened slightly, but caution remained. "You are far from your world," she said. "Few survive here. Even fewer are trusted." Her words made Jack's chest tighten. He had never felt so vulnerable, but the desperation in his body left him no choice. "Please, I need help," he said. "I won't cause trouble. I just need to live." The woman hesitated, then nodded slightly. "Follow me." She led him deeper into the settlement to a small shadowed room carved into the canyon wall. There she offered him a strange liquid in a shallow bowl. Jack recoiled at first, unsure what it was, but the woman's gaze urged him to try. Hunger and thirst overwhelmed his fear, and he drank. The liquid was warm, slightly sweet, and oddly comforting. Almost immediately he felt energy returning to his limbs, a strength he had not felt in days. "My name is Lila," the woman said. "I am the last of my people here. This nourishment is what keeps us alive. It is rare and it is precious. I will give it to you, but understand, survival here is not easy. You must learn to respect the desert and its ways." Jack nodded, gratitude and awe mixing in his exhausted mind. "Thank you, I don't know how to repay you." "Survive," Lila said simply. "Learn. Adapt. That is enough." Over the following days, Jack learned from Lila. She taught him to find shelter, to move silently across the sand, to read the desert for signs of life and danger. She showed him plants that could be eaten in small quantities, hidden water sources, and ways to trap small desert creatures. Jack, in turn, shared his knowledge of machines and technology, teaching her simple methods to make life easier, though the harsh environment limited much of his ingenuity. As they spent more time together, Jack began to admire Lila, not just for her survival skills, but for her intelligence, courage, and quiet dignity. She had endured loneliness and loss, yet she remained unbroken. He realized that her way of life, though alien, mirrored humanity's own strengths, resilience, resourcefulness, and compassion. One evening, as they sat by the fire watching the sun dip below the horizon, Jack asked, "Why do you help me? You could have left me to die." Lila looked at him, her eyes reflecting the flickering flames. "Because I see something in you, a spark of life that refuses to die, even when everything seems lost. You remind me of what my people once were, strong, persistent, clever. I cannot let that die in you." Jack felt a warmth in his chest, something deeper than mere gratitude. For the first time since the crash, he felt a connection, a sense of belonging, even if temporary. In a world that sought to destroy him, he had found someone who cared, someone who believed in him when he could barely believe in himself. But survival was never simple. One night, a distant roar echoed through the canyon, shaking the walls. Lila's eyes narrowed. "Predators," she whispered. "The desert has noticed you." Jack's pulse quickened. He had never faced anything like this before. Lila guided him silently to a hidden alcove, teaching him how to blend with the shadows, how to hold his breath, how to remain unseen. The sound of claws scraping against rock grew closer, and Jack felt fear like he had never known. But he remembered Lila's words. Survival was about trust, learning, and courage. He focused, steadying his heartbeat. Hours later, the danger passed. Jack emerged trembling but alive. Lila nodded approvingly. "You survived. You learned. That is what it takes to live here." In the days that followed, Jack's strength returned. He drank Lila's nourishing liquid, ate what the desert allowed, and trained himself to move like her people, silent and observant. The bond between them grew, built on trust, respect, and the shared struggle for life. Jack realized that the desert was not merely a place of death, it was a teacher. It demanded patience, courage, and understanding. And in that harsh, unforgiving environment, he discovered something unexpected: humanity's ability to endure, adapt, and thrive, even in the most impossible conditions. By the end of the first part, Jack was no longer just a helpless survivor. He was learning, growing, and understanding the delicate balance between life and death in this alien world. And while he knew the desert would continue to test him, he also knew he was not alone. With Lila by his side, he had a chance not just to survive, but to become something greater than he had ever imagined. The sun rose slowly over the desert, painting the dunes in shades of gold and orange. Jack felt the warmth on his skin, and for the first time in days, he smiled. His body had regained strength thanks to Lila's nourishment and guidance. He moved with purpose now, no longer a helpless man wandering blindly in a hostile world. The desert had become a teacher, and he had begun to learn its lessons. Lila emerged from the shadows of her alcove, carrying a small satchel filled with supplies she had gathered. "We need to prepare," she said. "The desert will test us again today." Jack nodded, adjusting the simple equipment he had fashioned from the wreckage of his ship. He had learned to craft small tools, simple traps, and even a solar still to collect water from the scorching air. Lila observed his efforts with quiet approval. "You are learning quickly," she said. "Soon you will be able to survive even without me." They set out together, moving across the dunes with careful precision. Every step was calculated, every movement deliberate. Jack marveled at how Lila seemed to know the desert as if it were a living being. She pointed out hidden depressions where water gathered after rare rains, plants that could be eaten without risk, and rocks that provided shelter from both sun and predators. Hours passed in silence, broken only by the sound of wind and the occasional shifting of sand beneath their feet. Then in the distance they saw something unusual, an unnatural pattern in the dunes, lines and curves that suggested intelligence. Jack's curiosity sparked. "What is that?" he asked. Lila's eyes narrowed. "Ancient ruins," she said. "Long ago a civilization lived here. They built machines, devices to control water and structures that could withstand the harshest conditions. Most of it is buried now, but some still exist beneath the sand. Jack's mind raced. If he could find this technology, it could change everything. Not just for them, but for Lila's people, if any survived. "We have to investigate," he said. They approached carefully, the ruins growing larger as they neared. Broken pillars, half-buried walls, and remnants of machinery littered the dunes. Jack's heart pounded with excitement. He knelt beside a piece of ancient equipment, brushing away the sand to reveal intricate designs and symbols. This could store water," he said. "If we can get it working, it could save lives." Lila studied the device, her expression thoughtful. "It is risky," she warned. "These machines are old. They could collapse or worse, trigger something dangerous." She paused, looking at Jack. "I trust your mind. You have learned quickly. Perhaps together we can awaken it." Jack nodded. They began working side by side, using his knowledge of human technology and her understanding of the desert. Hours turned into days as they repaired what they could, cautiously testing each mechanism. The sun beat down on them relentlessly and the nights grew cold, but they pressed on. Their bond grew stronger with every shared effort, every success and every challenge overcome. One evening, as they were inspecting the ruins, a sudden roar echoed across the dunes. Jack froze. Lila's eyes widened. "Predators," she whispered. "They have sensed us. We must move quickly." The ground shook as massive creatures emerged from the sand. Desert predators with armored scales, razor-sharp claws, and eyes that glowed like molten gold. Jack's first instinct was fear, but he remembered Lila's lessons. He took a deep breath and readied himself, positioning traps they had set earlier. The creatures charged, and Jack's heart pounded in his chest. But as they approached, they triggered his traps. Pits, snares, and cleverly placed nets that slowed the beasts. Lila attacked with precision, using a long staff she had carved herself, striking with speed and accuracy. Jack fought beside her, using his tools and wits to create openings and protect them both. Hours seemed to stretch into eternity. Dust and sand filled the air, mixing with the roars of the predators and the clash of survival. But Jack and Lila's cooperation and intelligence won the day. The last predator fell into a trap they had prepared, and the desert fell silent once more. Breathing heavily, Jack looked at Lila. "We did it," he said, disbelief and pride mixing in his voice. She nodded, her eyes shining. "You are no longer just a survivor," she said. "You are a human, strong and clever, capable of facing anything this desert throws at you. You have earned your place here." The following days were filled with cautious exploration and repair. Jack and Lila finally managed to activate one of the ancient water harvesting devices. Water began to flow into hidden reservoirs, providing life-sustaining resources for them both. The desert, once a place of death, was slowly transforming into a place where life could exist. Jack marveled at the result. "We did it," he said quietly. "We made life possible here." Lila smiled, a rare softness in her expression. "Yes, but it was never just about machines or water. It was about trust, learning, and perseverance. You have proven the human spirit is strong, adaptable, and brave. You remind me why my people survived so long." Over time, Jack began to help Lila rebuild more than just survival tools. They repaired shelters, created sustainable food sources, and mapped the desert for safe passage. He shared his knowledge of human inventions, while she taught him secrets of the desert no outsider could ever know. Together, they turned the canyon into a small sanctuary, a place where life could flourish against all odds. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jack and Lila sat atop a dune, watching the desert glow in soft orange and red hues. Jack thought of the journey that had brought him here. From the crash, the endless struggle for survival, and the countless challenges they had overcome together. He realized that humanity's strength was not just in physical endurance, but in the mind, in the ability to adapt, learn, and persevere. Lila spoke softly. "You have changed, Jack. The desert has tested you, but it has also revealed who you truly are. Strong, clever, and courageous. Humanity has a power here that cannot be destroyed even in the harshest places." Jack smiled, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment and belonging. "I could not have survived without you," he said. "Your guidance, your knowledge, your trust. You gave me life when I had none left. And you gave me hope," Lila replied. "Hope that even after loss, even in the harshest desert, life can endure." You have proven that humans can thrive even when everything seems impossible. The desert night fell cool and calm. Stars dotted the sky in brilliant patterns, and the wind whispered over the dunes. Jack felt a connection to the universe, to life itself, and to the woman who had saved him. He understood now that survival was more than endurance. It was about cooperation, courage, and the determination to rise above challenges. In the weeks that followed, Jack and Lila continued to expand their oasis. Small desert plants began to grow around their settlement. Water flowed steadily from the restored reservoirs, and the canyon became a haven not just for them, but for any creature or traveler who might one day seek refuge. Jack's human ingenuity combined with Lila's deep understanding of the desert had created life where there was once only death. One morning, Jack stood at the edge of the canyon, looking over the dunes that stretched endlessly beyond. He thought about Earth, about the people who had never believed he would survive, and about the journey that had tested him beyond measure. He knew that humanity's greatest power was not in technology alone, nor in weapons, but in the ability to endure, to adapt, and to persevere against impossible odds. Lila joined him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "The desert is no longer a threat," she said. "It has become a teacher, and you have learned its lessons well. Together, we have proven that life, hope, and human determination are stronger than any challenge." Jack nodded, a sense of peace washing over him. He had arrived as a desperate, starving man, but he would remain as something greater, a symbol of human resilience and courage. In the ruthless desert with no food, no water, and no certainty of survival, humanity had triumphed. As the sun rose over the dunes, casting long shadows and warming the sand, Jack and Lila stood side by side, ready to face whatever the future might bring. They had survived the desert, tamed its dangers, and discovered that even in the harshest conditions life could flourish. And through it all, Jack had learned the greatest lesson of all, that the human spirit, when combined with courage, intelligence, and compassion, could overcome any challenge and transform even the most desolate world into a home. The desert was no longer a place of death. It had become a testament to survival, partnership, and the enduring power of humanity. And for Jack, every drop of the Apache-inspired nourishment that had kept him alive was a reminder of the bond that had given him a second chance, a chance to thrive where no one believed it possible. With the canyon alive with movement, water flowing steadily, and the horizon bathed in golden light, Jack and Lila took a deep breath and faced the endless desert together. For the first time, the world felt limitless, and survival was no longer a struggle, it was a triumph.